Iran thinks they control the Strait of Hormuz because of a combination of fast boats and coastal missile launch sites that can attack ships at any time. In their plan, they don't need to destroy all the ships. Even just scaring the oil tankers and cargo ships is enough to halt maritime traffic. When the number of passing ships decreases, the price of oil goes up worldwide. That's how they gain control to pressure the US and other countries. But the situation changed when the US used powerful bunker buster bombs weighing 5,000 pounds to hit the hidden missile sites along the coast of the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just a simple surface attack. Their targets are sites Iran has long prepared to keep safe. These are hidden underground, with thick concrete protection and built to be hard to destroy. But even so, they were still hit. The bombs used are capable of penetrating soil and concrete before exploding. This means that even if the missile systems are underground, they can still be reached. But before we continue, please hit like on this video. This means a lot to us content creators. Thank you very much. They hit these sites one by one. That's why Iran's ability to attack from the coast is gradually being diminished. According to the U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, their target is anti-ship missile sites that pose a direct threat to ships passing through the strait. That means they're not just retaliating, they're actually removing Iran's ability to control the area. As the missile sites are destroyed, the passage gradually becomes safer. Ships regain confidence to pass through again, and the flow of trade returns. To better understand, it's important to look at how Iran uses the Strait of Hormuz. There are two main ways they do this. First, the fast boats. These boats are small, but fast. They can approach tankers, attack using guns or missiles, and then quickly retreat. It's like a hit-and-run style. They're hard to catch without control of the skies, but despite being dangerous, they have limits. When the U.S. has aircraft above, especially those that can fly low and target precisely, they can hunt down and destroy these boats. Second, and more seriously, the anti-ship cruise missiles. This is the bigger problem. These missiles are mounted on trucks and can be moved anywhere along the coastline. They're not fixed in one place. They can hide in the mountains, in tunnels, or in hidden bases, and they can attack from a distance before the target even gets close. This means that even if you don't control the entire sea, as long as you can hit anyone passing through, you still have control. This is the reason why Iran's strategy was effective at first, but this is where the U.S. strategy came in. They didn't just go after the fast boats. They directly targeted the source of the threat, the missile launch sites themselves. By using bunker buster bombs, it's not just a single missile that gets destroyed. The entire system is wiped out. This includes the launchers, storage, and support equipment. With every site that's destroyed, Iran's ability to pose a threat weakens. And as these sites disappear, the passage for ships becomes safer. The fight here isn't just military. It has a huge impact on the economy. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important oil shipping routes in the world. A large part of the global supply passes through here every day. If there's a problem here, it immediately affects oil prices and the economies of many countries. This is what Iran is trying to use as leverage. But it's clear from what the U.S. is doing that they won't allow this to be controlled. Right now, Iran is gradually losing control of the Strait of Hormuz as their missile infrastructure continues to be targeted. Fast boats aren't enough, mobile missiles aren't enough, and no matter how strong the bunkers are, there are ways to destroy them. As the operation continues, one thing becomes clearer. This fight isn't just about the sea or about weapons. This is about who has the ability to control the flow of trade and who truly has control over the situation. Iran has the capability to strike ships almost anywhere within the Strait of Hormuz using different types of missiles. These have varying ranges. There are short-range ones that reach about 12 miles, and there are longer-range ones that can reach up to 186 I. This means that almost the entire passage of the strait is covered by them, from the coastline to the actual entrance and exit, and it doesn't end there. They have even longer-range missiles. For example, the Abu Mahdi cruise missile can reach over 600 miles. This means that not only the Strait of Hormuz is at risk, but also a much wider part of the region. In addition to this are the anti-ship ballistic missiles, like the Hormuz II and Gulf missiles. These were made to hit even moving targets at sea using a guidance system. This means that even if the ship is moving, they still have the capability to hit it. With this setup, it's clear that Iran's missile capability poses a serious threat to passing ships. Yes, the U.S. can destroy the missiles if they can find where they're stored, but that's not the most effective way. It's more practical to target the launcher itself, because no matter how many or how powerful the missiles are, they're useless if there's nothing to launch them. And this is where the situation becomes complicated. Iran's launchers aren't easily seen. Most of the time, these are hidden inside tunnels, under mountains, or in places specifically designed to be hard to reach. They're deeply hidden and heavily protected. That's why ordinary bombs aren't enough. This is where the GBU-72 comes in. This is a 5,000-pound bomb designed to penetrate soil and concrete before exploding. It's not just for surface targets. It's used to hit underground targets that are hard to reach. This kind of weapon isn't new in operations. The UN has used it before as well. Heavier bombs like the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, which weighs up to 30,000 pounds, are used for deeper targets. They also use 2,000-pound bunker busters on various missile sites in Iran. But the GBU-72 is more practical in many situations. It's not as heavy as the most powerful bombs, but it's strong enough to destroy underground launchers that are important to Iran's strategy. It's more flexible and easier to use. Against different targets, using this kind of weapon means they're not just hitting the target. They're gradually taking away Iran's ability to attack the places that matter most to them. Because in the end, strength isn't just measured by the number of missiles. If you don't have a launcher, you have no way to attack, but using the GBU-72 in the Strait of Hormuz is different. It's not just about dropping a bomb. There's a clearer reason why this is important in the fight. According to some analysts, this might be the first time the U.S. has used this kind of bunker buster in this situation. There was a former Marine intelligence officer who said he didn't know of any previous use of this at this level. This means it's probably the first time it's being used in this kind of operation. In other words, it's not just an attack. It's like they're also testing how effective it is in real combat. The U.S. has been preparing this kind of weapon for a long time. They know that there are countries like Iran that have deep, heavily fortified underground facilities. That's why they made a bomb that can penetrate and hit these kinds of targets. But there's one simple point that's important here. You don't need to destroy the entire bunker to make it useless. No matter how deep or strong an underground facility is, it needs something to function. It needs an entrance. It needs tunnels. It needs a passageway from the surface. And that's where the U.S. strategy comes in. Instead of trying to destroy the innermost part of the bunker, which is sometimes too deep and hard to reach, they choose to destroy the entryways. When the entrance is destroyed, everything inside becomes useless. It's like the whole system is trapped underground. It can't be used anymore. The launcher can't be brought out. The missiles can't be fired. And that's exactly what the U.S. is doing on the shores of the Strait of Hormuz. They are systematically removing Iran's access to their missile launchers so they can't be used again. The only question is whether this is really the first use of the GBU-72. There are other reports saying that it might have already been used in 2024 against targets in Yemen, especially when attacks happened on shipping routes in the Red Sea. If that's true, there's an interesting connection, because those groups are known to be supported by Iran. That means, even if not directly, it's possible that Iran has already seen how this kind of bomb works. And if they weren't able to stop it before, it's an even bigger problem now that they're being directly hit. In the end, what's most important isn't when it was first used. What's more important is how it's being used now. Because the strategy is clear, you don't need to destroy the whole bunker. Just destroy the entrance and it will lose its ability to fight. And almost 2 years after this kind of bomb was first used, It's clear that Iran still can't stop it. They couldn't stop it before, and even more so now. All across the Strait of Hormuz, their underground missile launch sites are being destroyed one by U.S. bunker busters. And this is where the question comes in. What can Iran really do about this? Honestly, it's very difficult because the GBU-72 is not an ordinary bomb. It's an advanced weapon designed for this kind of target. Those hidden, hardened, deeply buried facilities. There's a reason why even Israel is interested in getting this from the U.S. Because this is the kind of weapon that can hit targets that older technology can't reach. The GBU-72 was made as a replacement for the GBU-28, a 5,000-pound bunker buster that has been in use since 1991. For many years, the GBU-28 has been effective against hardened targets. But as underground facilities become more advanced, especially in Iran, the old design is becoming insufficient. That's why the U.S. made a newer version. In 2021, the U.S. Air Force showed that the test of the GBU-72 using the F-15E Strike Eagle was successful. Here you can already see how it is used in actual operations. This means it can be carried by an aircraft that can get close, drop the bomb, and immediately pull back. Not only that, there are also photos from 2024 showing B-1 bombers carrying the GBU-72. This means there is more than one way to use it. It can be used on fighter aircraft and also on larger bombers. This gives the U.S. flexibility in operations, allowing it to use it wherever it is needed. Right now, there are bombers ready at the bases, prepared to fly at any time for the next strike. This means the use of this kind of weapon isn't over yet, and there could possibly be more to come. When it comes to the bomb itself, the GBU-72 has a strong warhead that can penetrate soil and concrete before exploding. It also comes with a guidance system that uses GPS and a navigation system. This means that even if the aircraft is far away, it can still hit the target accurately. There's no need to get too close. There's no need to put the aircraft in danger. It can be launched from a safe distance and will go straight to the target. And this is where the situation becomes even more difficult for Iran. Even if they have air defenses that could reduce the chance of stopping this kind of attack, it's hard to detect it right away. And when it's finally detected, it's often too late. This is the answer to modern warfare where targets are hiding underground. And by using this in the Strait of Hormuz, it's clear that the U.S. can reach even places that others thought were already safe. To be honest, even if Iran still has some air defense left, it's not that strong anymore. After the successive operations by the U.S. and Israel, most of their air defense systems have already been destroyed. What remains are just scattered and no longer well coordinated, so they're not as effective anymore. Because of this, it's now easier for U.S. aircraft to enter and launch attacks without being stopped right away. Here, the use of the GBU-72 becomes even more effective. According to analyses, the contents of this bomb are a combination of AFX-757 and PBXN-109, both powerful explosives also used in heavier bunker busters, like the MOP. This means it's not just a simple upgrade, but it brings proven power from various operations. Not all the details about the GBU-72 are complete yet, but there is enough basis to understand how powerful it is. For example, the older GBU-28 can penetrate thick concrete and deep soil. If this is replaced by the GBU-72, it will probably be able to reach even deeper, and it will be more dangerous for Iran's underground bunkers. The U.S. could use smaller bombs like 2,000-pound bunker busters, but to achieve the same effect, more would be needed. It's also possible that they're saving those for even deeper targets inside Iran. That's why the method they chose is more direct and more powerful. A single strike can have a big effect even if only a few are used, whether it's concrete or soil. Concrete or soil isn't enough to stop the GBU-72. And this is what keeps happening along the coast of the Strait of Hormuz as Iran's hidden missile sites are being hit. When it comes to using it, it's also clear how it's done. Aircraft such as the F-15E or B-1 bombers may be used to deliver these bombs to the target. These aircraft are capable of carrying heavy weapons and launching attacks from a safe distance, so they don't have to get too close and put themselves in danger. And according to reports, it's not just one or two being used in these kinds of operations. Many are launched simultaneously to ensure the target is hit and the system is completely destroyed. In the end, you can see that this is not just a battle of weapons. This is a battle of who has the ability to control movement at sea and who has the capability to maintain or eliminate threats. If we base it on the scale of the attack, it's likely that not only fighter jets were used. There are indications that the B-1 bombers were the main ones that carried the GBU-72 in the operation. And there's a clear reason for that. A B-1 bomber can carry multiple GBU-72s in a single sortie, while the F-15E is limited to just one per aircraft. That means if you want to drop a lot of bombs in a quick strike, it's more practical to use the B-1. More firepower in a single run, fewer aircraft need to go in, and there's less risk from Iran's remaining air defenses. This doesn't mean that the F-15E doesn't have a role. They could have been used for initial strikes or follow-up attacks, those quick in and out missions, while the bigger bombers did the main job. But if we're talking about the number of GBU-72s dropped, it's likely that the B-1 made the biggest contribution. And if the reports are correct that dozens of bombs were used in a single operation, it's clear that this wasn't a small attack, but a coordinated and large-scale strike. At this point, one thing is certain. The GBU-72 has already been deployed in the Strait of Hormuz, and it was used in a serious operation against Iran's missile infrastructure. Now, two important questions remain. Why now, and what's next? To understand why this happened now, we need to look at what Iran is doing in the Strait of Hormuz. Since the operation began, Iran has tried to block the passage, and at first they were effective. They used a combination of mines, drones, fast boats, and anti-ship missiles to prevent ships from passing through. Because of this, a large portion of the global energy supply passing through the strait was affected. When the flow here slows down or stops, oil prices around the world immediately go up. This is felt not only in the region, but also in many countries. This is the leverage that Iran wants to use. They want to show that they can disrupt the global economy to force the U.S. to back down. Because the Strait of Hormuz is not just a simple waterway, it is one of the most important choke points in the world. A large percentage of oil and gas passes through here every day, and because part of these waters is under Iran's jurisdiction, it naturally becomes a bottleneck, a place that is easy to monitor and control. This is the reason why the U.S. has been monitoring this area for a long time. And now, in the midst of the conflict, it's clear that they will not allow it to remain under Iran's control. That's why the GBU-72 was used. This is not just a matter of timing. This is a direct response to Iran's attempt to control the strait and use it as leverage against global trade. And by using this kind of weapon, the message is clear. The U.S. will not allow the Strait of Hormuz to be used as a means to control or intimidate the world. And now, right in the middle, 72.72.
Para takutin ang mga barko na
This is the reason why the U.S. uses this kind of strait, the Strait of Hormuz.
This is not just a simple threat because there have been actual attacks that happen. Within just a few weeks since the operation started, many ships have been hit or targeted in and around the strait. The effect was immediately clear. Almost all ship traffic stopped. If before, more than 100 vessels passed through every day, now it has dropped to just a few, sometimes 3 or 4 in a day. It's not because the passage is closed on paper, but because of fear. Even if the route is open, if there's a threat of missiles or attacks, no one wants to take the risk. And this is exactly Iran's strategy. They don't need to destroy every ship. They just need to show that they can attack at any time. And that's enough to scare shipping companies and make them avoid the area. For many years, many believed that Iran couldn't close the strait. They said it's too important for the whole world, and the impact would be too great if that happened. That's why many think the U.S. and its allies wouldn't allow it. But now, something different is happening. It may not be a total shutdown on paper, but in reality, the effect is almost the same. The passage isn't officially closed, but it's controlled by fear. And this is where the U.S. response comes in. The use of the GBU-72 against missile launch sites isn't just simple retaliation. It's a direct solution to the problem. If the threat comes from missiles, they will destroy the source of the missiles. And that's exactly what they're doing along the entire coastline of the strait. But the story doesn't end here. We go back to the bigger question, what's next? The answer from the U.S. is clear. This isn't over yet. They will continue to search for and destroy any threat to the free passage of ships in the strait. This isn't a one-time operation. This is ongoing. As long as there are remaining missile sites, there will be another target. As long as Iran has the capability to attack, there will be another strike. Along with this, it's not just about attacks. The U.S. is also gathering information. They are looking at where there are still remaining launchers, where hidden systems might be, and where the next threat could come from. And when they spot those, the next strike follows. In this situation, Iran's ability to control the strait gradually weakens. It's not sudden, but slowly, target by target, system by system. And as time goes by, one thing becomes clearer. The fight here isn't just about who has more weapons, but about who has the ability to take away the enemy's capability to use their weapons. The B-1 bombers are still at RAF Fairford, so it's clear that the U.S. could repeat this kind of strike at any time. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It's already been done. If necessary, they can do it again, possibly with even greater force. And the U.S. isn't just taking action on the battlefield. There's also pressure from above. Donald Trump gave a direct warning to Iran that they have 48 hours to reopen the strait. If it's not possible to target Iran's actual power plants, it means that not only military sites could be hit, even the infrastructure that supplies electricity to the entire country could be affected. The message is clear. If Iran uses the strait as leverage, the consequences will be more severe. But Iran did not back down right away either. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf responded, and the tone of their warning was also clear. If their infrastructure is hit, they will retaliate. They will retaliate by targeting vital energy facilities. And that's not just a simple response. They also said that this could have a continuing effect on oil prices. This means they are ready to escalate the conflict if necessary. But despite the tough words, there are signs that U.S. pressure is already having an effect. There are reports saying that Iran will open the Strait of Hormuz for most ships, except for those they consider connected to the enemy. And here, the situation becomes complicated. Who will be considered the enemy? U.S. ships are definitely included. But what about ships from other countries that have connections to the U.S.? What about the allies? What about countries that are just trading partners? Here, the line becomes blurry. And here, we will also see if the tension is really easing or if Iran is just trying to show that it still has control. In the coming days, the movement of ships will reveal the real situation. If more ships start passing through again, it means there has been a change. If not, it means the tension remains. Meanwhile, even though the U.S. is giving an ultimatum, there is also a mixed message. On one hand, Donald Trump says they can act even on their own. But on the other hand, allies are also being invited to help guard the strait. It's somewhat contradictory, but one thing is clear. The U.S. is ready to act alone or with others. And if allies like NATO join in, the presence in the Strait of Hormuz will be even greater. More ships, more eyes, and it's harder for just one country to control. At this point, the fight is no longer just about missiles or bombs, it's about control. Whoever controls one of the most important energy routes in the world. And as time goes on, one thing becomes clearer. This won't end soon. As the situation in the Strait of Hormuz heats up, it's not just the U.S. and Iran watching this. Other countries are slowly getting involved because the whole world feels the impact of what's happening. Mark Rutte himself said that NATO is already looking for ways to respond to the crisis. This means the situation is serious and can no longer be ignored. There are also reports that some U.S. allies are ready to form a group to help monitor the strait. But until now, there is still no final decision whether this will move forward while the operation continues. The countries are moving cautiously because they know that the more parties get involved, the bigger the conflict could become. But even without a concrete coalition yet, the effects of what the U.S. is doing are already being felt. Along the coast of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's underground missile launch sites are being destroyed one by one because of the use of bunker-busting bombs. The places they used to use to threaten ships are gradually disappearing, and along with this, their ability to control the passage is weakening. It may not happen immediately, but it's clear that their strength in the area is slowly being reduced, and Iran's problems don't end there. Even when it comes to drones, a new challenge is coming. Possible help may come from Ukraine in the form of interceptor drones. These are drones that not only attack but can intercept and destroy other drones before they can cause any damage. If this kind of technology is deployed in the Strait of Hormuz, it will make things even more difficult. Iran will have a harder time using the drone strategy they have long relied on. At this point, the battle is no longer just about the number of weapons. It's now about how quickly you can adapt and adjust your strategy. Whoever learns and adapts faster will have the advantage. And as the situation drags on, one thing becomes clearer. This is no longer just a simple conflict between two countries. It's getting bigger, and other countries could get involved if it isn't controlled soon.